possible as well to go back and view this presentation on our I Get It Live site. So for those that are familiar with I Get It, it's our learning management platform, not just focused on any one vendor, but Siemens, Dassault, Autodesk products, some general engineering education type courses around like GD&T and plastics design and some things along those lines. But we also have a section on there called I Get It Live that we're using to host some of this webinar content, and you'll be able to take the existing login and probably view this webinar through I Get It or through the GoToWebinar interface at a later date. So thanks again for joining. Today's topic is introducing Fusion Lifecycle from Autodesk. My name is Ben Curtin from Tata Technologies. Also joining us today is Rodney Coffey from Razorleaf. So this is the first of a four-part series. So today we're going to be doing the introduction. The second part, end of the month here, is on items, bill of material, and change management. On May 18th, we're going to be covering the product introduction process. And then on June 15th, delving a little bit more into project management, and we may cover a couple other super secret topics at that point as well. Okay, so today we're here to talk about Autodesk's Fusion Lifecycle, and it's really a PLM component of Autodesk's Fusion platform, which is their Autodesk product innovation platform. So today, Fusion, it's uniting all the various design disciplines, whether it's the design, mechanical engineering, electronics, and software. But of course, none of our customers get paid for just making pixels on their screen. They have to make a physical product, so we want to make sure that they can actually make things. So there's 3-axis milling built into some of that Fusion platform and turning. There's also working on connecting through Internet of Things technologies like Fusion Connect. It helps bring all this together into really a closed loop. So it's kind of like a CAD package. It's a CAM package. It can do some computer-aided engineering type work, and it's also an integration or a way to actually connect products as well. So it's kind of a brand new category. It's what Autodesk is referring to as their product innovation platform, and it's what really starts differentiating this from a lot of the competition out there in the PLM and CAD markets. So it's truly integrated, and it's also taken our customers beyond what they really know today and towards the next generation of technology. So not many people are probably going to dispute that the cloud has really started to revolutionize IT and consumer enterprise applications. And the advantages are pretty clear. There's lower costs, lower complexity of rolling those types of platforms out, and sometimes higher performance, and they're really instant on and accessible for all the features involved in those cloud-based systems. So there's really no turning back from that. A lot of product innovation software, whether it's CAD, PDM, PLM, and so on, it's lagged behind other enterprise applications like CRM and ERP from moving to the cloud. And you might ask yourself why. Well, a lot of product software is a lot more complicated than some of those other systems. Most of the PLM vendors really don't have a lot of incentive to make the required investments in that whole platform. So Autodesk recognized that opportunity, and they started embarking on a new strategy to develop the technologies and the infrastructure to move essentially its offer set to the cloud. This is really a true cloud, not like a hosted solution where it's like a repurposed on-premise software that's been ported to like an Amazon Web Services cloud. This is really designed to be multi-tenant. The result is that it's really the first and only end-to-end cloud product innovation platform, and it's really transforming how companies make things. So product lifecycle, getting tongue-tied. So product lifecycle management really includes a broad set of processes that are used to create, maintain, and communicate the product information from ideation all the way to the end of a product's life. In a bit of a broader context, it includes design, engineering, CAD data management, even Internet of Things. So PLM software connects and organizes the people and information involved in those processes to improve the effectiveness and the value of the processes themselves. So let's just talk about some of the industry challenges that are related to PLM in general. First of all, nearly every product development company faces two unavoidable challenges. First of all, early product development process decisions like part selection and how those will be sourced or manufactured, they're more or less predetermine the costs and the performance of the product. But once a product is ready for prototyping, the architectural and strategic decisions are really becoming more hard, if not impossible, to change or undo those decisions. So the second reality, as a product progresses through its life cycle, changes really become a lot more exponentially harder and more expensive. Once a product is manufactured and it starts being shipped to the field, the cost of change really increases a ton. Late changes cost the most and really provide the least amount of potential impact. So many companies design new products in a vacuum. In other words, engineering teams, they're designing the products based on a set of market requirements, without a lot of input from their downstream stakeholders within their company who will need to build it and support that product. So when the design is complete, they just kind of throw it over the wall to manufacturing and the other groups involved, and that's really the point where everybody else in the company first gets to learn about the new product designs, the part selections, the sourcing decisions have to be made at that point, and it's really too late to make a lot of good decisions early on. So problems that could have been identified and possibly fixed are potentially uncovered at that point, which causes delays in delivery to customers and higher costs to change. So cumulative change costs start to add up pretty quickly as downstream functions like the sourcing, production, and quality, for example, start scrambling to achieve the costs, the quality, and the manufacturing targets. So providing product development teams with a more complete and accurate view of the product information like the cost, failure rates, part usage, maybe supplier preferences, they all allow the engineers to make better choices and trade-offs and to select better parts. Techniques such as classification, for example, enable design engineers to quickly find and reuse and leverage existing parts and modules and really to avoid duplicating those in the future. Early cross-functional collaboration and reviews allow downstream functions to catch potential problems much earlier when those changes are more fast and potentially much less expensive. And the result is lowering the lifetime change costs, resulting in fewer delays, and lowering the product and quality costs. So why PLM? It's really all about business process improvement. So most companies operate in functional silos, essentially. The department heads set up processes using whatever tools they find available. Most typically it's going to be Excel and email. Little attention is normally paid to how information flows through their company. Individuals might be organized, but the process that involves the people and information from multiple functions are usually pretty chaotic and inconsistent. Product information, which is the lifeblood of the manufacturer, it's hard to find, inconsistent, often outdated and difficult to interpret, and that's leading to delays and errors and inefficiencies, and maybe more importantly, even low morale and difficulty hiring and retaining the best employees. So most companies aren't even aware of the layers of redundancy and the slack they've built into their business as usual processes. So a company's operations could be thought of as a set of activities or business processes which produce value. The processes use inputs such as people, suppliers, and supporting overhead and assets to produce value. This value of output can be measured in a variety of ways such as cycle time, error rates, or even new product revenues. From a high level, the output of a company's business processes is its financial performance. So how these business processes are performing has a tangible impact on these results. Companies are good at adding resources until a process kind of saturates, and incremental inputs might then have little or no effect or even reduce the overall results. The other variable is process performance. And that's what we're really here to talk about today. And a better process produces better results with fewer inputs. In particular, product lifecycle management, or PLM processes, are critical. PLM processes include the collection of business processes used to plan, define, build, support, and improve products and services. They're the lifeblood of your company and directly impact its growth and profitability. So over the course of the product lifecycle, nearly everyone in the enterprise, including its external customers like your suppliers or your vendors, they all play a role. So it's important, or I guess I should say, it's impossible to kind of overstate the importance of the processes to the overall health of your company. Which kind of brings us to the topic of the day, Fusion Lifecycle, which is a unique cloud solution that effectively connects and organizes people, processes, and product information. So it provides a single source of truth for items and their suppliers, for the bill of materials, documents, and potential changes. Facilitates contextual role-based collaboration, both internally and throughout the extended enterprise, including your outside suppliers or partners. And essentially hundreds of companies of all sizes across multiple industries, they're all profiting from Fusion Lifecycle today. They discovered Fusion's unmatched performance, its ease of use, and its rich capability set. So in total, Fusion Lifecycle is dramatically improving how companies create, build, support, and evolve their products and services. So through our work with manufacturers over the years, we've identified key characteristics or attributes that can be used to evaluate the process maturity. And it's that process maturity that really determines its performance or value. So value can be measured by how much it costs to perform, how long it takes, the number of errors or defects it produces, and some other intangibles such as risk and the output quality. So Fusion Lifecycle really delivers tangible business value, increasing the maturity of critical PLM processes that drive the product lifecycle, and also the concept and design to manufacturing and support. So, why Fusion Lifecycle? There's several main benefits to Fusion Lifecycle. Essentially, you can categorize those into time to market. That's all about accelerating your product revenue and reducing process cycle times. There's a productivity aspect of it, where you can just increase overall personal productivity and efficiency. You can get rid of some duplication and wasteful tasks and processes. You can reduce the cost and the risk, whether it's material cost, doing rework or scrap or warranty claims, things like that. And these are ultimately, hopefully, add to the predictable cash flow of your business by helping maybe reduce inventory or reducing IT investment even. So Fusion Lifecycle saves time and money by enabling key resources to spend more of their time on doing and less time on wasteful activities that really don't add any value. In other words, more time on value-added activities like creating, making good decisions, designing, and that means less time spent on non-value activities like searching for product information such as bill of materials, part data, documents, and drawings, and so on. Rework, in other words, duplicate or redundant activities caused by errors or defects such as repairing, redesigning, retesting, redesigning a duplicate part, and so on. Unnecessary meetings, design reviews and the time required to prepare the content for them. Creating management reports and manually updating the schedules for those. Can help reduce activities like the clerical work of copying and distributing paper, filing and gathering approval signatures, and finally manually loading data from Excel or other systems from one system to another. So many companies spend a lot of time on these types of non-value added, busy work type of tasks. You might be thinking to yourself, well, how much time do we as a company waste at our site? And you might think, yeah, we probably waste quite a bit of time, but you might be surprised to know that the average knowledgeable worker spends about half their time really performing product-related processes. But 70% of that work-related time really falls into a non-value added activity. The searching, the coordinating of meetings, reworking, doing clerical works, the reporting, and the data entry. It's things that can be reduced, streamlined, and made much more effective through adequate PLM systems and processes. So Fusion Lifecycle, it's really the only complete true cloud-based PLM solution. Its focus has been from the beginning on ease of use and flexibility, connectivity, and providing essentially game-changing capabilities that are only possible in the cloud. So Fusion Lifecycle is not just cloud hosted, by the way. It's a true cloud platform, whereas a hosted solution simply shifts the IT infrastructure and support costs, but onto maybe a cloud hardware, but really not its behavior itself. So with a true cloud-based solution, you're really automatically getting access to the latest features and improvements as they're rolled out on that cloud platform without any costly updates. There's none of the annual upgrades and all the IT infrastructure and support costs and downtime typically associated with those upgrade challenges. So this results in a significantly lower total cost of ownership compared to a lot of the other traditional on-premise or hosted solutions. And the efforts for the Fusion Lifecycle platform, they're really on improving the one system and not supporting a bunch of legacy versions scattered throughout the customer base like some of the other traditional PLM vendors. So at this point, I think we're going to transition a little bit into some of the technical capabilities of Fusion Lifecycle. And I thought I would introduce Rodney Coffey to begin assisting with the presentation at this point. So he's going to cover a little bit about some of these capabilities, a little bit about integration, and then transition into a demo.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Yeah, so how does Fusion Lifecycle do all these great things that Ben's been talking about, right? So one of the ways is that it comes with pre-built applications to solve these common PLM type problems. So things like your items and bombs or material management, new product introduction or product development, quality management, whether it be RMAs, failure analysis, corrective actions, preventative actions, all those types of things. Along the way, we're also managing important tasks that are related to product development and product management. Things along the lines of, project tasks, project execution, along the way tracking important information like cost. So we do this with a pre-built set of applications that come with Fusion Lifecycle that you get out of the cloud. We also take those pre-built applications and can use those as templates to take your existing processes or processes that you're migrating from a legacy system and using those templates to act as a starter pack in order to build those new processes. Another thing we commonly do is we configure a special business process. So for example, something like asset management or a more complicated product development management process that a company has. So we can take the tool as it is and build that application directly into Fusion Lifecycle. So the big differentiator there is a lot of legacy PLM systems would sell you a specific application to solve a business problem. So you would buy an application to solve product development. You would buy an application to solve quality problems. In Fusion Lifecycle, we simply build another application that connects to all the other pre-built applications to manage that piece of data. Right? And then, of course, as Ben's already alluded to, we have the power of the cloud. Right? So as Ben said, Fusion Lifecycle is a true cloud application, not just another host infrastructure tool. It comes complete with audit trail history, so we have implemented for companies who have been surrounding government work or have heavy compliance, such as FDA companies. And then we also have great third-party collaboration through middlewares and through other applications. Ben, if you could flip to the next slide for me here. So one of the big things we do with Fusion Lifecycle and how it's even positioned is integrate to other business systems. So one of the things that we've historically seen done in this industry is a customer of ours, would buy a PDM tool or buy some of the legacy PLM tools and then stretch it to become a tool for all their different business units. So instead, what we do with Fusion Lifecycle is solve the problems it's built to solve and then integrate it to other business systems. So what we're doing through integration is what I like to call business process integration. We're taking the business process and stretching it across the tools that are purpose-built to solve those problems. So for example, we might take items and bombs and manage the development of that process in Fusion Lifecycle, but then we need to take those bill of materials and pass them to ERP, where the financial procurement information, supplier information is then added, right? So if we look at some of those cost savings that Ben talked about earlier, all the non-value added tasks, we think that the most simple level, that's data redundancy. We type a bomb into this system, then we have to add the bomb into another system, right? So we're able to eliminate those types of tasks using integration.
Okay. So I think, are you ready at this point for me to pass you control so you can do a little demo for us, Rodney?
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
All right. You see my screen, Ben?
Yep, looking good.
All right, perfect. So what we thought we'd do today for the demo is just show go through a demonstration of the user interface, kind of show how the workspaces and the pre-built applications are structured, and then kind of dive in briefly into items and bombs and change management. So we're going to take a look at what a material looks like in the system. We're going to see a change record, and we're going to see how notifications are passed out when someone is responsible for an activity. Now we do have, I will say we're going to cover this at a high level today. We do have some upcoming webinars in the future where we're going to dive into these topics in a little more depth. So when you purchase Fusion Lifecycle, you're given a Fusion Lifecycle tenant. So as we said, this is in the cloud. So you'll simply be given a customer-based URL. Right? So you would go to that URL link, and then you'll be presented with a login screen. So we're just going to log in here. And Ben mentioned the Fusion platform earlier. So this login not only gives me into the Fusion Lifecycle product, but into any of the products I'm managing across the Fusion platform. So if you were using Fusion Configurator, maybe you're a Fusion 360 customer for the cloud-based CAD product, that same login is used in across the whole Fusion platform. So that eliminates some of the sign-in and password redundancy that's created across different products.
Yeah, that'll be essentially the same login as your existing Autodesk account if you've used an Autodesk account for anything else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Autodesk has done a really good job of streamlining the account management. I know years ago we used to have, who knows how many logins to get to many different tools. Today it's just a single login to access all your Autodesk tools. So when we first enter into the product, we're presented with what is the home screen. So on our home screen, we have search capability. We're presented with our outstanding work, which is any tasks or actions that I would have to take on, say, a change management record, or perhaps it's a supplier review, or any process we manage in PLM. We also have a dashboard area where we can connect to links that are important to us. So for example, if I'm working with a single material on a regular basis, I can add that to my link so that I can get to it quickly. We have a recently viewed items screen here, which is sort of like your recently viewed documents in Office or recently viewed drawings in AutoCAD. Right. And then here in the dashboard, we also have reporting capability. So I'll show this again a little bit later in the demonstration, but what the reporting capability allows us to do is get real-time metrics on the data that's managed in the system. So for example, here we see we have a report based on change orders that are in the system. And what this is doing is it's giving me real-time data feedback on how many records we have, in which state that these change order records are in, and then what life cycle status they're in down here. Is the color code. So this is real-time data. So this is going to report directly into the tenant. Right? So this is great for corporate level, for managers sitting in a design review meeting and need to be able to report those metrics immediately. Right? So if we take a look real fast at the main menu, you'll see these are the applications that come with Fusion Lifecycle. So we have a product development app where we're going to manage things like products, items and BOMs, or tasks associated with the product development process. We have a change management application, things like problem reports, deviations, or waiver requests, change requests, and change orders, which are really the heart of change management. We do have some supplier chain type things, so we do manage suppliers in here, the manufacturers, part numbers, supplier audits, and somewhat like a CRM system, we have a space here where we can manage customers. It's important to note that we're really building, I like to joke that it's the 7 degrees of separation for PLM, right? Customers and supplier data is important because we need to be able to connect that to the products we're developing. So what we really build is a network of what we call workspaces, which each one of these guys are, that interconnect all of our product data. Right? So here we see we also have a quality application. We have a few quality spaces in here. There's many others that we can add. And then just a reference space for some things that we use on an admin basis. Right? So these are the things that come with the product. Now it's important to note, while these are the only applications that come with the product out of the cloud, if we go to the administration menu here and I take a look at the App Store, I'm just going to open this up on a new tab, you'll find that there's many other applications out there that can be installed directly into your tenant. And these come with your subscription when you purchase Fusion Lifecycle. So if we look here is a more mature quality management application, which is going to come with things like inspection plans, inspection management, non-conformance management, and then here's our CAPA app, our corrective and preventative actions. Now each application from the App Store will give you some screenshots to let you know the functionality that's going to be placed in there, what workflow comes built into that application. Here's another shot of the item details, so all the field capture that comes with that application. And I think this last guy, yeah, just another screenshot of the item details. So we have customers that use this in two fashions. They might download the product, and we may know that we're going to go in and we're going to help a customer with quality management. They'll download this application. We usually use that as a starting point to talk to the customer about their internal processes, and then we'll take that and we'll manipulate it to meet their needs. Right? So we'll take that and we'll do a little bit of configuration work, a little bit of manipulation of the workflow until we get it where it fits their needs and processes. So that's a little bit about what comes with the product and then what can be downloaded into the product with your subscription. All right. So let's take a little bit deeper dive into the product and take a look at one of these spaces. Right? So what I'm going to do just to demonstrate the search capability is we're going to go look for a bill of material. So we're going to look for the 699-200 material. I'm going to hit search here. It's going to go out through the tenant and it's going to search for any part number. Now on the search criteria, this will search across any application I've built into Fusion Lifecycle. So if that BOM was tied to a change order, then the change order would show up in this search. If that BOM was tied to a particular supplier or a manufacturer part number, those things would show up into this search. Right? Anywhere that number is referenced. Here we can see we get a preview of some basic information about that record. Right? And then just by clicking the link, that'll take me to that record in the system. So this is our items and BOMs space. Over here to the left, we have our item viewer. Right? So if I click here, this will expand the list. You can see here's a list of, this is what customers used to refer to as their material master or their item master. Right? So this is the list of all the items and BOMs that appear in the system. This view can be customized. So you can see right now I'm just showing a descriptor, a life cycle, and the release letter. If I wanted to say, for example, come in here and add the unit of measure, I can add that to this view, and then you'll see it gets added over here. So when we click on a single item here, that gives us a deep dive, and these are the item details that are associated with this bill of material. So we can see this one is currently released at Rev A, effective as of 6/19/2014. You have different sections in Fusion Lifecycle. They help separate and delegate data to a different area. So for example, here we have all the environmental compliance fields that are responsible. And at the bottom here, you'll see we have an owner and change summary section, which captures the title block-like information of this record. So we can see when it was created, when it was last modified, and who the owner of that material is in the system. So we have functional tabs for every record in Fusion Lifecycle, and what these tabs do is allow us to display different information. So for a bill of material, which most of the folks on the call are probably familiar with, we have a bill of material tab, and this is the display of the BOM that's associated with this assembly. So you can see once that loads up, here we have the top level, revision. We notice we have some BOM fields, so fields that are specific to the BOM, such as quantity. You'll also notice this stamp area right here. This tells me whether any record or material is on a change order in the system. And then this guy tells me how many attachments, so we can attach PDFs, CAD documents, Word documents, whatever it might be, to individual records. So this tells me what attachments are tied to this. You can see little arrows here. This shows us the product hierarchy. This happens to be an electrical board, so you can see here we actually have the reference designators for each one of the components on the BOMs listed also. Right. So as I mentioned earlier, we do have a session coming up on items and BOMs, and I'm going to show how to create those, and we'll talk a little bit more about the red line and markup capability of those. So if we look here, we also have a Where Used tab. This is going to tell us where any material is used. It's pretty common for PLM, PDM type capability. And then again, related information. So if we look at the related changes, this tells me any changes that would have impacted that bill of material. So if I click the link, it'll jump over to the change order. So again, we have all this different information we're managing in PLM. Our main goal is to relate it all so that at any point in time, if I'm on a material and I need to know what supplier is creating that material, what manufacturer number it's related to, what change order is related to it, I can hop through the system and get to all that data. So we're going to take a look at one more thing here. I'm going to go back to the home screen. And we're actually going to take a look at the change order space because I know that's of high interest to most folks. So here I'm going to click on change orders. This is going to take us to the workspace where we manage our change orders. You can see there's a small list of those created here. I am going to create a new change order. And you'll see here we type in our fields, right? Each one of these fields is customizable. This is actually the change order application that comes with the product. So we're going to go through, we're going to pick our team. We have an approval process built into this change management workflow, so I'm going to pick a few folks for approval here, and I'm just going to hit save. Now, let's say this is the real world, and I've created this change order, and it's tied to a workflow, which shows up over here on the workflow tab. Right, so you can see our out-of-the-box change order workflow. And now I want to take this change order, and I want to submit it for approval. Right? Now notice right now, this creation state is green. The green box is what we call a workflow state. The green signifies that is the process that we're in right now. That is the workflow state that this record is in. Notice I have green transitions here on Submit CCB and on Cancel. Right? Because I have an actionable transition, so I'm allowed to push this, I'm going to go back to the home screen just for a moment. I'm going to open it up in a new tab. And I'm going to show you what happens when I have a record that I can act on. Notice that record shows up in my outstanding work. Right? So there's the change order that I created. So because I am able to perform a transition on that record, it will show up in my outstanding work. So when I take that record and I submit it for CCB review, or change control board, there are now approvers in the system. They're not online with us today, but those approvers in the system are now notified that they need to come in and act on that record. So if we go back to my Details tab, back here where I assigned Steve Dunn and Sarah Murray as the approvers to that record, they've now got an email notification to tell them they need to come in to approve, and they've also gotten an outstanding work notification that they have something to act on. So this is one of the ways, as Ben was talking about earlier, one of the big things we try to do is, we're developing a process to streamline the business process, right? We want to let people know when they're responsible for doing something and what they're responsible for doing. Right? So we create ultimate accountability using PLM to drive the process. So like I said, what we've seen here is the out-of-the-box change order workflow. And some of our future demonstrations, what we're going to do is we're going to go through, I'm going to talk about how to customize that a little bit. We're going to walk through bombs and redlining, and we'll also talk about some of the other areas of change management. So what we wanted to do was just do a simple demonstration to kind of show users the general interface, some of the things it was capable of at a high level, and we'll continue to build on that in our other sessions. So that's it. That's all I have.
All right. Thanks, Rodney.
Yep.
I'm going to transition back to presenting again. Okay. So at this point, we just wanted to show maybe just a couple slides around some customer success. And essentially, as I mentioned earlier, there's a bunch of customers out there that are taking advantage of Fusion Lifecycle as a PLM process control tool. There's some big companies in here. There's also some mid-size and small companies in here. So the cool thing about Fusion is that it's definitely a very scalable product, and it has that instant-on type capability for those smaller customers, but it has a very customizable and configurable user interface for larger customers that really want to match some of their existing processes or to alter their processes to their specific goals. So a couple quotes or statements about the Fusion product. So like Mesa Labs, they said it's hands down the best software decision they made in 2015. They said on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 13. So it's really a strategic tool for their company decisions, and it's really far exceeded their expectations. Porex, they're saying that Fusion Lifecycle is bringing together all their departments, and with the product development, quality, manufacturing information all being linked together. So it's helping them get their products to production faster. And then Electrical Components International, they said that before they had Fusion Lifecycle, everybody was using kind of a different approach for change management. It caused confusion and mistakes, and they were using Fusion now to standardize and streamline the process company-wide. So these are some of the customers that Autodesk and specifically, I know Rodney, you've been working with some of these, or I think all three of these specifically yourself as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we worked with each one of those companies.
Good. So really the next step, or what we hope that some of you can take away from the presentation today, is working with us to assess your current environment. And Tata Technologies has its own PLM Analytics strategy for doing this with you. So, the PLM Analytics from Tata Technologies, it's a structured approach to help you, our customers, understand your current maturity of your product development process, and also be able to compare that with your peers. It helps to hone in on the required future state with priorities and to help build sound business cases for investing in PLM type technology with an ROI. And finally, it includes a detailed roadmap of the phases and tasks required for implementation to be defined. So the benchmark, it really is the starting point of all this. In our PLM benchmark, it's a high-level assessment. It's really meant to be the starting point for investigating the appropriate tool sets and needs of your company around PLM. So a little bit more about the rest of our portfolio. we talked about earlier why it's important to kind of analyze your business. And we've worked with thousands of manufacturers around the world, so it's really impossible to create like a one-size-fits-all assessment tool. So we actually started out this PLM Analytics portfolio by working with Data, the big PLM advisory firm, to create a portfolio of assessment tools, and that gradually allowed us to essentially delve wider and deeper into your organization and give you multiple views of PLM in your business. So, you along with us, we can use these assessments that can hopefully best help you achieve your business objectives, whether they need high-level assessments to help prioritize investments, or maybe even a detailed roadmap for potentially complex change initiatives. So as I mentioned, the first tool, which is our PLM Benchmark, it's a high-level assessment that can quickly help you identify gaps and compare your organization to other peers in your industrial space. The health check, it's a little bit deeper dive. It's kind of a cross-section of individuals within your organization to evaluate your current maturity of your processes, technology, and organization. And as I mentioned earlier, the PLM roadmap, it's really an intensive, potentially even multi-week evaluation that produces a detailed PLM roadmap of the technology, processes, implementations, tasks, and those types of things to essentially be successful with a PLM implementation. So I guess as the takeaway here, I invite anybody on the call here to work with us in scheduling just a quick PLM benchmark. Those typically take only about an hour to an hour and a half. Again, it's a high-level overview. It covers 17 pillars, the primary pillars of PLM and the things that could do for your business. As myself and Rodney were mentioning earlier, we've got some upcoming webinars as well. On March 29th, that's the one where we're going to go deeper dive into items, bill of materials, and change management. On May 18th, we're going to talk a little bit more about the product introduction process. And then on July 15th, that will again be the project management. We'll probably throw a few other things in there as well to kind of wrap up this series. So again, I'd like to thank everybody for joining today. I think we're going to also take some questions. I think I saw a couple in the UI, so we're going to jump into that now. But if anybody does have to leave early, I definitely want to invite you to contact us about doing a PLM benchmark today. You can reach us at PLM Analytics at tatatechnologies.com, or if you'd like to contact me directly and have a chat around your current environment and PLM needs, go ahead and do that as well. So let's see. Let's just take a look at the Q&A interface. Somebody asked about the 17 pillars, it looks like. So I'm not going to cover all that today, but just to be aware of, we have pillars, for component management, document management, quality management, supplier relationship management. There's a bunch of these different, I guess you could say, pillars that apply to different things PLM can help out with. And that's what the assessment, the benchmark is all about, is really covering each of those categories. Instead of just focusing on like CAD data management and change process, we want to make sure that from a holistic perspective, we're not skipping things that could be even more critical to your business. So that's the point of the PLM benchmark, is to really identify where you are today, where your gaps in your business processes are, and how you could potentially start improving. And it looks like that's all I see in the Q&A interface. But please, those that are still on the line, feel free to enter a question right now if there's anything you think we want to have a quick chat about. We'll stay on the line for a few minutes to see if anybody has any further questions. So for those that need to get running, I know we're a little ahead of schedule here, and I guess we landed right about where we wanted to for time. But I'd like to thank everybody again for joining us today, and please, if you're more interested about more PLM topics, definitely join us for the March, May, and June sessions as well. So thanks again, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time. I do see one other question about training material in the I Get It current platform. There's not specific training material for the Fusion Lifecycle platform. but it is a platform we can use to document the PLM processes in Fusion Lifecycle and to use that as the learning management system so that everybody in your organization understands the proper PLM processes and techniques and technology, whether it be Fusion Lifecycle or any other PLM system for that matter. And this session, by the way, was recorded so that if you want to, probably sometime tomorrow, it'll be up on the GoToWebinar so that you can just use your existing login link or your existing link to the webinar and view it there. It will also be posted on our I Get It website under the I Get It Live area as well. All right. So again, I'll just stay on the line here, and if there's any other questions, I think we'll answer them. But at this point, I'm going to stop the recording. And again, thanks for joining, everybody.